Welcome to your Blooming Lovely tutorial. So in this tutorial you have a printed deep edge canvas, which is a print of one of my original artworks, which is kind of half your tree if you like, and you're going to add all of that lovely bloom to it. In your pack you've got the 6 lovely colours that I've used here. You've got a paintbrush, a dotty dabber and a bit of glitter dust. So let's get cracking. Right, let's get started with our apple blossom Blooming Lovely. So you've got 6 colours with this pack. You've got a dotty dabber and a paintbrush. Your paintbrush will be new, so they put a coating on the bristles when they're new to keep them all together. So just give it a little swizz round to loosen up those bristles. If you get a stray bristle coming out, you can just snip that off the end, but normally they're fine and there's no problem with that. So it's slightly different to the dotty tree ones that I've done before. So that's to do with the paintbrush. This is how we get kind of a petal / leaf effect with the paintbrush. And it's really, really simple. And your paints are all of my pre-mixed by me drippy paints, if you like. So we don't want to use any water with our paintbrush because it will water our paints down. So what you will need is some baby wipes, and that means you can just wipe off your paintbrush between colours. I'll start with the easiest bit. The easiest bit for your apple blossom is your bloom. So we've got a dark pink, a medium pink and a white. So we're going to make some little clusters of blossom. And to do that, choose the end of your dotty dabber that's got the larger size ball, and this will give you some bigger dots, and you put it into your paints. You might well have needed to stir your paints before use. And you're literally just touching down. We'll do some little clusters. Okay, and I'll get my baby wipe out. Change my colour. So you just have one of those by the side to wipe off. And I'll do some of the pink. It's just clusters of dots. You don't need to make them too large, and we'll do lots of those scattered through the tree. And then your leaves, well actually I didn't do any white dots, and I was going to do some white dots on there, and what I might do is I might use the smaller end for the white dots, and then they get a bit more delicate between those. Don't worry too much if you get some touching. Okay, your leaves. You've got your dry paintbrush and one of your colours. We'll start with the darker one so you can see it a bit better. And you're gonna dip your brush into your paint. You use quite a fair bit of paint on there, and you're just very lightly touching with the point, with the end. Okay, and we want to kind of get a puddle. So each petal, new dip, and they're going in different directions. I say petal, I mean leaves really. Okay, and we build up our leaves like that. Now the mistake some people make when I do workshops is they'll go right on the side like this, and they'll make them big like that. We don't want big, we want lots of little. That will really help with the effect of bringing it all together. And we do those in those 3 green tones, and that all starts to fill it in. Now, if you make a mistake, you can get a fresh baby wipe. Well, if it's on here, you need a fresh baby wipe, definitely. But with this one, I did as a sample, I can just wipe that off while it's still wet. It has to be wiped off once you've only just done it. If it stays on for a while, it will have started to soak into the canvas. Now these are a printed canvas, so if you're wiping off, don't scrub, because you could take off some of that, that top colour. But it's fine for a gentle wipe over if you make a mistake. I shall do a time lapse so you can see it all coming together and get an idea of where to put things. You can, by all means, practice on a piece of paper doing your leaves and your dots before you start. But I think because the trees end up so busy, you don't really need to, because when you start, if you make a few that you think, oh, I'm not very happy with that, it all kind of gets lost in amongst all that lovely bloom towards the end. Don't be scared to come right up and a little bit over your edges, and you'll see that coming together in the time-lapse video of me doing it. So sometimes people can keep it quite regimented and then you end up with it looking quite rounded, but we want it to kind of be a little bit scattered. Your lower edge, do that once you've finished your top, because otherwise you're leaning over all the time and you end up accidentally smudging your lower edge. So this bit we can tackle last, and it's just to put a few little scatters down the bottom. Right, I shall get on with the time-lapse video then. Right, my tree is looking fairly full. Now I would like it to be fuller. So what I'm gonna do is let it dry and then add some more. You could keep going while it's still wet, but it can get a bit kind of, the colors could blur a bit. So as you're doing it as a home kit and there's no time limit on this, I'd say let it dry and then come back to it and add some more. I'm gonna do the lower edge now. On a time lapse, so you can see how I approach that bit. It's basically the same as you've just done, but kind of just subtle, just a little bit. You can, so if you have a look at it when you get to this point, you think, oh, I wish I'd have added another bloom, like the pinky bits there or pinky bits there. Let it dry and you can add those on top, but it doesn't matter. You can keep adding more of those if you want to. You will have some glitter in your pack. It's a fine glitter dust. I'm not going to add any to this because I find that it makes the paint dry with a bit of a crinkle to it. So I prefer not to, but I wanted to include it because I know that there's so many of you out there that absolutely love glitter and can't get enough of it. So if you want to add glitter, you absolutely can. You have to add it on top of, so sprinkle just like salt a little bit on top of your wet paint and that will stick to your wet paint. You could just put the glitter on your little blossom parts, or you could just do a scattering all over when you've finished and it's wet. Right, so I'll do the bottom edge and then I shall show you it once I've come back to it and I've filled it all in a bit more. Make sure that you can stop at this point if you want to, but just make sure you've done enough so that where these ends of the branches finish, that's kind of disguised, if you like, underneath the bloom. You want it to be full enough so you haven't got that separation of where the original print is. Okay. Okay, so I'm all finished. Still needs to dry. It's still wet. But as you can see, I've filled in the gaps even more with the green leaves. I've also added some white dots using the Dotty Dapper, just kind of scattered in amongst all of the gaps. The bottom edge is now done and it's only just a few scattered along there. There is actually a line on the print that is only just visible. So just have a look for that when you start doing your bottom edge. If you wanted to, you could do lots more along your bottom edge, but I quite like to do just a small scattering. But there you go, painting is complete.